eBay has done it again. They've changed things. Now, this was sent as a message a couple of days ago about promoted listings. And the reason I'm just doing this, because I saw another video and it was discussing about this. And I was thinking, yes, if you're doing promoted listings on eBay, perhaps you're not. If you're not, you've never done it, you don't want to do it, I think it's a good idea. But let's just go about this. This is only for general campaigns. This is not for this stuff. Apparently it looks like the only section that's changed, general campaign, and this, the only part is this here. So we got this. And what has changed? Well, it's changing on the 24th, so it's not changing just at this moment. But what's going to happen is eBay will report a sale, an attributed sale, I love that word, attributed sale, a sale from a general campaign when a buyer purchased the same item that was featured in an ad that was clicked on by any buyer in the most recent 30 days. So that item may not be promoted at that point. When you do a promotion, sometimes it's promoted, sometimes it's not. You can go on the listings and you can see sometimes it says sponsored, sometimes my listing shows it's not. It still might be at the top or bottom, wherever it is, but it will sponsor because of the rate. I guess that I've got a very low rate. It doesn't always sponsor it. I accept that. Okay, so then in that case, if someone clicks on it when it is promoted, anybody else that is, within the 30 days, the last 30 days, the previous, as it says, most recent 30 days, I mean, means previous 30 days, then I assume that it means that it's considered as a promotion, even if it's not actually set as that. And it's odd. That's a change. And I can understand that. It's, to me, my interpretation of it is a sort of like they're trying to get the money from, you've gone down the pub and you've heard someone talking about something. And you think, oh, that sounds good. You know, someone says, oh, I saw that book on this website or on eBay and I think it's great. And you go, oh, yeah, I'll go and buy that. You go on it. Obviously, you're not getting the promoted listing at that point, but you are then, it's been basically interpreted as promoted. And that's what happens. I think they get the sale and they get the promotion, which whatever it is, the rate that you've got that on as. However, the thing is also another thing is the item must be promoted at the time of the click and the time of the sale. That's very weirdly written. Time of the click, as it's not referring to priorities. I don't understand the time of click. That's just an irrelevant statement. All that matters is the time of the sale, surely. Is there a difference? There must be a difference. Maybe it can cease to be promoted in between time. Maybe that's a very odd thing. I never thought about that. Yeah, maybe you click on it as a promotion, but by the time you actually go to click the sale, it's not a promotion anymore. It's been what's the name? So maybe that's the case. Okay, that might be the interpretation of that bit. Very odd. The ad fee is based on the ad rate in effect at the time of the sale. Well, I suppose it's good because it might be a promotion then at 5% or 15% when you click on it. Then you go to make the sale, it might only be put at 2%. So they're doing it on the basis of the sale. Okay, so you've got that. The only bit of the wording I find slightly hard to understand is the buyer bit. Will be clicked on by any buyer. And please put in the comments below if you can work out that interpretation of that. Clicked on by any buyer. Any buyer. What if the people who click on your ad, then they click on the ad and they don't go and buy anything? Or they don't go and buy that? Well, obviously they can't buy that because if they bought it, you wouldn't then be able to go along and buy it later. So that doesn't, so it's obviously can't be referring just to that single item. Is it any buyer? So in the most recent 30 days. So does that mean the buyer becomes a buyer when they've bought something within the last 30 days on eBay? Is that interpretation, or is it on for a day, or is it within the hour? Is it clicked on during that session? I don't know. I mean, because if it's just a casual viewer, that's not the same as a buyer. That's just a person that's just clicked on, they've just gone off something else. They've gone off to another site or something, and then they come back and then they go and maybe buy your product. Is that interpreted as still as a buyer? I don't think so, but that's the word in buyer. Key thing, buyer. So that's the change. And I would love to know. I mean, I don't think it's such a big issue personally for me. I can see it's another way eBay obviously are making want to make a little bit of money, a little bit of cut where they think there's a potential link between that original person and maybe this person that actually goes to buy it. I guess that's what they're doing, even though it's a ridiculous scenario. I mean, say you could hear someone in a pub talking about something, you can go and buy it. However, what if the person's in Venezuela and I never know that they've clicked on it, but I'm somehow now influenced by that buyer, that person before? That's just a really weird interpretation of how you would, I mean, really stretching that halo. And this is another thing I didn't know about halos beforehand, and this is quite an interesting one as well. Halo. So basically, if you do any promotion, so you promote one book, say you've got one book, and you think, you know what, I want to promote that. Now, if someone clicks on that, so you put that one as a sort of loss leader, you decide that's a loss leader, so you put this out, and people go to that one item, and it's promoted. Now, they don't buy it. They're not interested in that because they look at it and go, oh, it's not what I really want. I don't really want a pair of socks or whatever. However, then they go off and then go and buy something, a book that you're selling. But again, 30 days of the original click. So in that 30-day period, if they go off and buy, say, anything else on your channel, even though it's not promoted, will be treated as a promotion. That's my interpretation of that. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that interpretation. So if you've, say, got, let's say, you put a pair of socks on for £2 or whatever, and you promote them. Now, this is an absurdist argument, of course, but you put a pair of socks on, but then you put on a house or a car, say some really large item of £6,000 or £7,000 or £10,000, but people go and buy that one, that is still considered a promoted item, even though it's not promoted. You think it's going to sell, you don't need any promotion for it. It will be still treated as a promoted item. So if you've got a dynamic rate of, say, 10% on that item of socks, will that mean within the 30 days of the original click, will that be then interpreted as obviously obviously a promoted sale? So you'd have to pay a lot on 10% of obviously a house for 200, 300,000. It would be expensive, wouldn't it, as an ad rate? But that's my interpretation of that. It's just odd. So really, once you put one promotion out there, you are potentially promoting all the others. If other people, they go, especially if you've got, say, lots of items, say you're doing art books and you've got lots of art books and people click on one that's promoted, then all the others ostensibly are actually still promoted as well, even though they're not part of your promotion. By that interpretation, by that halo, which I didn't know about. Maybe my interpretation is completely wrong on that. So don't hold me on that's going to be how it's interpreted. But that's my reading of it. It's very strange. There's a lot of things when you read these things. There's also a priority campaign. I'm glad they didn't change that. If they had changed that to the same model, there, the clicked on buyer, to the promotions where it's based on clicks, imagine where that would lead. Basically means anyone clicks on anything within the last 30 days, i.e. goes on eBay at any point, anywhere, that will be interpreted as a click on your one. So that would be stretching it even further, wouldn't it? Literally, that would be a thing that you're paying for people to use eBay elsewhere on the eBay site, would be my interpretation of that one. Hopefully they never go that far, because that would be odd. Maybe I shouldn't even suggest it. However, promotions. To get to another point, promotions. Why should you do it? And maybe you shouldn't. If these changes really sort of upset you, and I can understand that for some people that will probably be a slightly upsetting scenario, this thing. And again, it's just pushing it more and more and more and more. Especially if you look at it, I go for the basic promotion one where it's based on a sale. and I go for a fixed rate, I'm happy with that at a certain percentage. The reason being, I think that in the thing that I'm selling, books and the specialist books, they're sort of like, oh, can't really show you, got a small little, tiny little image. If you can see it just there, something like this, DC Thompson's First. Put that on. Okay, so if you're trying to sell that, promotion actually works reasonable. At 2%, I'm willing to throw sort of 2% away in a sense, because it nudges you at the top. Now, it's quite possible that you are not competing with anyone, and then maybe it doesn't do the promotion anyway. So if there's no other entries for that, you won't get anything. But I've noticed when I go on to my listings, if there's 5 items and I'm competing with some real big sort of company ones that got obviously deep pockets, you're competing with them. If you put a sponsor at 2%, you actually get higher up in the listings, especially when used sometimes with best match. Now, it doesn't always work. I'm quite certain that people will turn around and say, no, 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 no. But I have noticed when I've been looking through listings, I've noticed that when I've got them like that and I've promoted them, the sponsored listing occasionally nudges it to the top in the best match one. And best match is the default search. I'm not happy with best match as the default search. Basically, I find that a terrible search. I change mine. I have mine generally to lowest price. Not because that's so the cheapest, which of course you hope it is, but it does mean that it often eliminates so much rubbish that comes in. No, sometimes it doesn't actually. eBay search I think is terrible anyway. What I would like would be an eBay search term based on the actual text that I put in. Wouldn't that be weird? Sort of, I put in this one, DC Thompson's First. That's all I put, DC Thompson First. That is all I should get in my listings. All the ones at the top anyway. Obviously there's going to be lots, because there's obviously going to be firsts and those sort of things. You're going to get all the books. But if you've got DC Thompson First, that should be whatever obviously the priorities or anything to make it best for the customer, the buyer. Surely it should be, because I know what I'm searching for. DC Thompson First. That's the book title. That's what I want. Wouldn't it be nice if they added that as a listing type, a search? And that would be the one that I would always use. And that's the one I always aim for. I'm certain someone's going to put a comment saying you can do that. You can put quotes around it or something, or there's pluses or something. There's some... Not everyone's going to know all the ways of doing these things. I'm certain there's exclude features and all that sort of stuff. Please put in the comments below if you do know if there's exclude. I know there's an advanced search. Most time I find the advanced search actually returns results that are even worse than the basic search. So I've never been happy with that. And likewise, of course, if you save a search, I love to save a search, because then every day it will pop up with listings that are completely irrelevant to me as one of my saved search. It has a mind of its own, bit like eBay and its research things. When you put an item on, you can research a price. 99% of the times you do the research thing on it and it comes up with 55 listings totally unrelated to the book that you're actually trying to put on. What use is that? The average price here is 33 pence. Yeah, it's an omnibus edition and you've got 55, graphic novels with the same title-ish in the listing, which irrelevant. It doesn't make sense. I really find that they should fix that feature. Anyway, stop at this point. Enough of the ranting about promoted. Hopefully you found this of interest. I would really like to know your opinions and thoughts about this, but this is just a slight change. And if you're not doing promotions, you probably don't see anything. But like I say, worth checking them out. I didn't find it difficult. Just set up a promotion, put all the entries in and do it. And like I say, put a fixed rate. I don't think the dynamic makes any sense. Why? Why would I want it to be 15%? No benefit to me. If it goes up to 15%, which it works out 15% or whatever, that's absurd in most cases. So if you put it fixed, at least you've got some control. It may take longer to sell. Depends, I guess, how fast you want to push it. But if no one's searching for an item, it doesn't make any difference. All the best promotion in the world, and still not going to get up in the listings if no one's searching for DC Thompson's firsts, as much as it would be nice. That's another thing I think that maybe they could improve. Sort of recommended based on that on the sidebar of shame, or whatever you want to call it, the sidebar of possible interest. I don't feel that eBay have updated their front end as much as they could do. I think they could be interesting if you sort of had like a flow of stuff. Little things popping up the side like you do on YouTube. YouTube's great for that. I think that little sidebar, or whatever it's called, don't ask me. Whatever it is, I should know, shouldn't I? But I don't. And you look at it and you think, oh, that's interesting, that's interesting. And no, that's not interesting, not. But some of it's not related at all to the things. It's just things, obviously, that YouTube thinks. But eBay should do maybe a similar sort of sidebar. The rest, the actual core of it, should still be focused on what I want as a buyer. Okay. Please put in the comments below if you think I'm completely, utterly talking rubbish about this, which is perfectly reasonable to say, I think. A like or dislike, always appreciated. We'll be back doing some more book reviews. I've got a few books piled up that I'm going to be doing fairly soon. And also, please subscribe to the channel. Bye.